Hi guys and welcome to
Hi,
our
Tanya.
new
Hi.
podcast.
Hi. Oh,
Finally.
स, 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 awkward हाय निकल गया.
Hi.
that's okay.
So today is very exciting because we're obviously discussing anime
I have to
and
confess something. I've never watched an anime film, so this was my first time. So I had very high expectations, thanks to a few people.
yeah. Even I watched very less anime movies and this was probably like the fourth or fifth anime film.
Hmm.
But yeah, as good as new but not so new.
Okay. Do you wanna introduce which one we watched?
I think the person who recommended should introduce the film. It's only fair.
Yeah.
So the topic of anime that we zeroed in on, that actually was recommended by Saket. But the movie, I think that was mutually decided rather, but this could not have been a better movie to begin our journey with the anime podcast,
Hmm.
Grave of the Fireflies. It's a 1988 movie, and it's a masterpiece. I mean, according to me, it is truly a masterpiece, and not in my wildest imaginations have I actually thought that we actually would be sitting here and doing a podcast way again in 2021. Like 33 years after the movie's release. So I mean, if it is staying true even after 33 years, then it is actually something. So I mean, it's one of the best anime movies that I have actually watched.
There's also one more thing for which I'm glad that we are discussing this today, and it is the thing that there's a big misconception in India that anime is for kids or immature people. And I think this sets a great example of what anime can convey and what anime can be. So I thought this is a great starting point for anyone trying to get into anime.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thing about this movie, well, people say that it's an anti-war film, but the director of this film, Isao Takahata, he has clearly mentioned in a lot of his interviews that it's not an anti-war film, but it just shows the consequences of the war. I mean,
Hmm.
what happens after the war, and I mean, the people who suffer from the war are not the veterans or the soldiers, or not even the people, the politicians or the government. It's the kids or the women
Their
or the
families.
most, exactly, the families and the most
Hmm.
vulnerable people that suffer. And which was evident in also the Grave of the Fireflies. And because the main emphasis of the film is, what I got to know was that I have viewed food as quite differently now. I mean, I am quite gratitude to the fact that I have access to quality food, quality water, and which some people don't have access to. And the helplessness which I which I was able to view. I mean, this was the thing, uh, because of this is the main reason that sometimes I don't recommend this film to others. It's so good that I don't recommend it to others. And another thing, which I highly recommended to Nidhi and Tanya also, was due to the fact that when I initially watched the film, I had zero expectations. To be very fair, because I'm
Huh.
not a big fan of war films or anti-war films, whatever it is. So I don't really like them. So, but,
Huh.
but when I watched Grave of the Fireflies, there was nothing or no discussion about the war, just the consequences of it.
Hmm.
So that's the best thing I liked about the film.
If you see the movie closely, every time there is some sort of action in the movie or violence, like a plane firing from above, it will be for a
Hmm.
fraction of a second and then it's done. We focus more on how the characters are feeling, like their faces. That it takes long takes for just showing how the characters feel compared to what's happening, the bigger action sequences or anything like that.
The treatment of the film was very normal. It wasn't some, high VFX style animation, but the emotion is something that I didn't cry at the end of it, but like I went through the journey of the boy and the girl, like the two siblings. I went through the entire journey of them escaping and then, struggling through it all, and even the food bit of it. And obviously towards the end, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who has not seen it, but like I went through the journey, and I don't think I've seen an animation of sorts in the recent past. Maybe Inside Out is where I felt the emotion so strongly with an animated character. But yeah, I felt the emotion and the struggles and like that. What's the word? Like, matlab, just that sheer sadness of not even knowing what tomorrow is gonna happen and not being able to feed your loved ones. So yeah, the emotional aspect of it is something which was definitely evident.
But this the moments in between and the dialogues that they use and how they show their relation, I think that's what I felt really connected to. Because if you put yourself in those shoes, you're like, oh my god, how much can you do for your family? And
Yeah.
how you feel in such things, and you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Wanted to
Go
support
ahead.
Tanya's point about the little details. Like they'll spend a few seconds on showing them washing their face or just eating food, which are normally avoided. Not only in anime, most of the movies itself. Like
Yeah.
those kind of details, even in the first towards the beginning when they're on the train, the brother gives the Seta gives the candies to Setsuko, and first he sees her eat them, and then he has a smile on his face, and then he eats them. It's those details that make the characters and the story itself feel more real than a lot of movies.
Hmm.
And also, what I feel is that yes, it is extremely depressing to watch. And I mean, when we had decided for the podcast to start with Grave of the Fireflies, I did not watch it again. I'm being honest, I did not watch it. I cannot watch it again. I mean, it was so depressing. The characters that were there, they were so real. And as Tanya said, what if we were in their shoes? I mean, that single emotion, I think, would be echoed by everybody.
Yeah.
Also, the relation of the main characters with the supporting characters, like for example, their father. They never shown their father. You know, he's in
Yeah.
the army, and
Yeah.
there's always that hope whether will he come back, will he not come back, and the mother. I mean, I for one am very close to my mother, so I actually started crying when the mother had died, you know, of burns, you know, somewhere in the middle, or I think it was
Hmm.
little
No,
before
the
the middle.
start.
So that, yeah, it was pretty much in the first
In the
one third
beginning.
of the movie.
Hmm.
And also, towards the end, I was dreading it. I said, do not end it like that. Do not end it like that. But then when it did, I mean, that
Yeah,
ending, you actually, your heart actually is, you know, torn into a million pieces, you know, like slowly, you know, it just is separated, you know, your heart is actually broken. When you say I'm heartbroken, that is actually the feeling, you know, your heart is actually broken by, you actually are a changed person by the time the movie ends, I think.
exactly. And what was heartbreaking for me was the helplessness of those both of the kids, because the younger brother himself was more of he was not really an adult, or even if he was, so he was powerless. And
Hmm.
the little kid, or his little sister, he was trying to protect, or he was trying to feed. So she was also a very young child. So the helplessness which I was seeing on his face, I can't
Hmm.
forget about it.
Which was your favorite moment, or like that moment in the movie where you were like, can I rewind it and just watch this part again?
Um, there was this one dialogue that, you know, stayed with me. It's been 3 years since I've watched it, but there's a scene in which they are away from the aunt and they go into that field in that small hideout, and in the night they play with those fireflies. That was a magical moment. Immediately the next morning, they find that the insects have died, the
Yeah.
fireflies have died. So that's when the little sister asks her brother, "Why do fireflies die? Why did mom die?" So I mean, that just took some part of me away. I mean, I haven't got it back.
For me, it's just the moment. I think moment the. I think it's before. Yeah, it's before that. The previous night when they have the fireflies captured in a box, and the brother just pulls one of the firefly and just leaves it in front of her. It's like a dark scene, and it lights up when the fireflies come out. That's, I think, my favorite.
I think, I don't know if this is my favorite, but the minute you asked me that question, the first scene that I thought of was when right around the same sequence, when they finally decide that they're going to leave their aunt's house and live in the shelter, but when they're actually packing their stuff on the cartwheel, and the aunt comes and she's like, "Oh, where are you going?" And he's like, "I don't know, we'll figure it out." And then the aunt just says, "Okay, goodbye then." And when they show them actually moving away, I think the aunt says, expects them to be sad or to cry, but then she looks back and she sees that the little girl is actually happy and she's laughing along the way, which I thought was very cute because they are happy, like the siblings are happy in the little things that they have as long as they have each other, but the aunt expected them to just cry, but they were happy in that little thing. So I thought that was really innocent and very nice.
Okay, so the part which I won't say it was my favorite, but I think it really got into my head, into my memory, and it stayed with me, and it really haunted me. Was that part when the guy, the brother, took that sister to the doctor, and she was having some medical issue and stuff, so and she was feeling very weak. So the doctor said that I don't have any medicine for her. The only medicine that will work is the food.
It's food,
So
yeah.
please, yeah, so please give her food. So the brother felt so angry and so frustrated. He said, "From where can I get the food?" The helplessness on his face again. The entire theme of this film for me was like helplessness. I mean, the brother is helpless. I mean, he can't. He is doing his best, but he can't arrange simple, food for a sister. So yeah, that part was still haunting.
The food bit, I don't remember exactly which scene it was, but I remember having this thought in my head that whatever we do in life essentially is so we can feed ourselves, right? And you
Yeah,
don't really need money at the end of the day. Matlab, all you need to do is you need to do farming, for example, right? And grow your own
yeah.
food because that is all you need. And yes, there is a war going on, and everybody is saying, oh, there's rationing done. You cannot really survive without being in the system. I think there was a specific line where someone said, a farmer said, you cannot fight the system. You have to be part of the system now.
Yes, yes.
But essentially, all you need to survive is food. And I think, yeah, I mean, very nicely put, Saadiq, because this film is about essentially that. It is about survival, and you just feel so helpless when you don't even have enough food to feed yourself to actually be on your 2 feet. Food and water. Yeah.
Also, just another off tangent point. I think the girl, the sister, was also suffering. The rash was, I think, it was because of the nuclear effects. Because at that time in Japan, the doctors didn't used to tell that people were suffering from something radioactive effect. They'd rather say you don't have enough nutrition, or like they don't want to tell, like they don't take away their hope or something like that. So I think it's not like very explicitly told anywhere in the movie, but from what I have seen of Japanese movies, I gathered that.
Yeah, you didn't say what was your favorite scene.
My favorite moment was when the brothers had a bad day and he's come back to his sister who has no clue about what's happening, and he just asks her for a hug, and she hugs him and she's just standing there like, why is he hugging me? She doesn't know what's happening. She doesn't understand emotions, and she just goes like, I want to use the washroom. And he's like, can I hug you for a little more time? And do you want to go out? I just really, that moment just hit me for some reason because there is there's a vast difference in their mentality, and there is a vast age gap, but still their relationship was so fresh that part really hit me. older people, you have like this responsibility that the younger one is your first child. Like even my brother is
Exactly.
my first child. How much ever we fight, he's still my first child. So I have seen a lot of movies just where the relation is between the mother and the father, probably the parents, yeah, to the son and the child, or stepmother, stepfather, whatever. There are very less movies of the brother and sister relation.
Yeah,
True.
Very less
that's
movies that
true.
have a very good brother and sister relation, and I think this is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
True.
Also, one thing that I just wanted to say was that there would be so many people who would say, like, yeah, let's go to war, let's go to war. Those people actually should just go and watch this movie to see
Yes.
actually what war can, impact. It's so easy to sit here and say, yeah, let's go to war, like,
Hmm.
but you have no idea about the economy of the country, the financial situation that the country will have to bear,
Hmm.
and it will at the end have an impact on you also. So, I
Hmm.
mean, that's just one takeaway, when actually there's so much hate in the world currently, this is one movie that is just like a mirror. It just shows
Hmm.
you what if.
Do you think if this film was made with real actors and not an animation, it would have been received differently?
I just wanted to add this to the question you just asked. So
Hmm.
the director Nakahata, he was, he initially wanted to make a film, a live action film, and not an animated one.
Hmm.
So when he, discussed it with the producers and even the story, the writer and the other actors also. So when he was, making a vision for this film, the screenplay, so he just got it to know that it would be nearly impossible to make a live action film because
Hmm.
to make the children malnourished throughout the film, you have to have a child that has to be malnourished, and apart from that, creating war scenes would be very difficult, and
Hmm.
it has to be a bit more graphic, and would be very difficult to get and extract those emotions. So that's why he decided to make an anime rather than making a live action film. That's what I read.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, just a small note about the screenplay. This is semi-autobiographical. So
This
this
is
is
I
actually
read that
based on,
somewhere.
yes.
Huh.
But the author who wrote this initially has had two sisters actually who died, but the movie
Oh.
only portrays one sister.
another fun fact was that the fireflies that they actually had seen during that night part, they actually were bombs going down. So that was another like an angle, so to say, which might have been metaphorical for the fireflies, but yeah, it could have been actual bombs also that would have actually gone across the night sky.
Had to rate this film from 1 to 5, 5 being absolutely amazing. Everyone you know needs to watch this. How would you rate it?
I think 10. 10 out of 10.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
Tanya, Sadik?
Okay, I would go for 4.5. 4.5, yeah, because I can't go for a perfect 5 because it was very emotional and made me cry. So point 0.5 is considered.
Aww.
So yeah,
Especially why I gave it 5 in the first place.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I think even I would go for like a 4.5, 4.75.
Hmm.
Definitely.
So I'm usually a harsh critic, so I reserve my fives. I'll go 4.5 as well.
4.5.
You look
Same
for
here.
5?
No,
Four
four
and a
and a
half.
half.
Yeah, 4.5 seems the average for me as well.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah.
one parting word. Be mentally prepared. It is a very depressing movie,
Yeah.
but it is one of a kind. I think you should definitely watch it, but just be mentally prepared before watching it. If you are already in depression, do not watch it.
Okay, thank you for being a part of this. It was nice talking to you all about our first anime movie, Nidhi and mine. And that was just such a
Yay.
classic one. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for the recommendation, boys. And
Right.
Bye.
Don't sign
hi.
off. Huh.